Back on the Boulevard, it is Sunday, April 6th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We're presented by the Believe Network tonight. Week 2 is in the books, a loaded slate of action, and of course, our favorite segment, the fastest 3 minutes in the UFL, is back to recap it all. We start off in the D with Alex Ripper Magoo, ready to bounce back in week 2. First snap of the ball game, he's hit. Ball's loose, and on closer look, rips the shoulder clean out of socket. So here comes Matty Ice. Stallions up 3-0. Third and long in plus territory. Picked off by Go DJ. That's my DJ. Panther ball. Second half Bryce Perkins. Gives it right back. AJ Thomas. Whoop! Help! And then whoop! The big fella, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Birmingham in business up 12-0. First play of the fourth. Matt Golden Corral finding Dion Raising Cane. All you can eat. Stallions beat Mike Nolan again, 21-12. Little beer snake after dark in DC. Defenders down 3 on second and goal. Rolling out. Air Jordan. Touchdown. But wait. Dean Blind Dino reverses it from 3,000 miles away. No touchdown. Early fourth. DC up 9-6. Third and 12 for Memphis. EJ Katy Perry, the one that got away from the defense. Boats back up 3. JT trying to answer. Has time. Down the middle. Chris rolling all the way into the red zone. And they cash it in with some trickery. It's all about the Benjamin Bresnahan. DC sinks the boats to be 2-0. Yeehaw! We're off to Texas, where we had to fast forward all the way to the fourth for a highlight. It's Perez to Deontay. Nothing but Burnett. Bandits up 11-3. Houston, what can Brown do for you? Emmanuel Jimmy Butler heating up. CJ chucking up the deuce, needed 2 to tie it. Brown trying to beat the rush. Brown finds a clearing. Anthony Brown extends, but he's short. Last chance now, 4th and 12. Brown dropping back, has a pocket, off the hands, incomplete. Down go the Roughnecks and CJ Johnson. Football is back in the loo. Revenge on the mind for the Battlehawks. Up 3, second quarter. Handoff to Jacob. Smooth sailing Sailors. 20-yard score. It's 11-0. Next drive. Manny Wilkins letting it fly on first down. Gary Jennings put the team on my back door. 58 yards, second half, all Battlehawks until Mond finds John Trey. 5 big booms. Kirkland to the doorstep at the 1. They punch it in, get a stop on defense. Then Mond picked off by Brandon Action Sebastian. Kaka was the law. St. Louis with a 26-9 win. I'm your host, Matty Fresh, joined by TPG. What an electric week and a way to kick it off here on the Boulevard. TPG, Victory Sunday for you. We're going to get some immediate reaction coming up. Battlehawks with a big-time win with the dome opener.
Oh, yeah, Matt, I got the Manny Wilkins do-rag on right now, and we're feeling good. 2-0, like you said. Victory Sunday, live reaction. Game just ended, so recording late Sunday night. But, yeah, love everything I'm seeing out of this team so far.
Yeah, a little Boulevard after dark. We had the beer snake after dark. Let's do the Boulevard after dark as guys. We're going to try to get to you as soon as we can on these Sunday nights, but a lot of work goes into these shows, and some of these games are pretty late. So if you're catching us Monday morning on your commute to the office or whatever it might be, we hope you enjoy our UFL recap. Of course, we got to start with the standings, TPG, and where we sit at the end of week 2. XFL Conference staying competitive. You got St. Louis and DC, also Arlington, all 2-0. And of course, you got San Antonio, the early disappointment of 2025, starting off 0-2. In the USFL side, it's heating up as well. Birmingham and Michigan at 1-1. Memphis and Houston fall to 0-2. Our best bets. Good to us again. Another week in the green. We're 2-1. Thank you, Anthony Beck, for the under 39.5 there in St. Louis and San Antonio. Nothing but class, kneeling it out inside the 10 to spare us. I was a little worried, TPG, there for a second when Max Duggan picked up a nice first down with the legs. I'm thinking, man, a field goal would have been 38 here. But we get through at 26-9 with the under 39.5, and we're 6-1 on the year.
Hey, unprecedented, documented, and fermented. Let's go, Matty Fresh.
You know it. We hit the under 39 as well in the absolute disaster that was the Arlington-Houston. That game kind of went right as we predicted it on Thursday. And then Brahmas +7 is our lone loser of the year. Completely missed that one, and we're going to jump right into why. 26-9, TPG. You called it. Beat down in the Battle Dome. So I'm going to let you lead this thing off. The only thing that was wrong with this night for you is the game was on FS2 at first because NASCAR overtime. Yeah. And then I think it flipped back to FS1, but it was enjoyable from there. I thought great crowd in St. Louis, great football from the Battlehawks. And of course, we had some great stuff from commentary as well. I thought Joel Klatt was on his game tonight. And Connor Onion, how about him? I think making his UFL debut, doing a hell of a job. So, yeah, just immediate reaction here as you sit in your STL shirt and you're on to week 3 as the defenders are going to roll into the dome.
Well, yeah, I agree. That broadcast had a lot of fun with the game. And how can you not when you come to the Battle Dome? The place was rocking. All the fans were decked out in their crazy outfits. It's like Halloween every time you go to a game there. I absolutely love the energy the fans bring. But looking at the game, I mean, very similar start to last week. Offensive line came out, swung the first punch. Ground game was dominant. Wilkins, very efficient throwing the ball. I believe he was 12 for 16 with 168 yards, I believe. So, yeah, great stuff out of him. Obviously, no Hakeem Butler this week, but a lot of these other receivers stepped up. Guys like Gary Jennings, Blake Jackson, Denzel Mims, Jake Sutherland. Like, I saw a lot of good stuff out of this offense, and even without one of our star offensive players, we didn't skip a beat.
Yeah, for sure. I got to admit, I'm starting to warm up a little bit to Manny. I'm still not all the way there, but I mean, yeah, the efficiency and the 9 carries for 58 yards. Definitely got away with a taunting penalty there. But hey, you can't, you played ball. You can't be the second guy to react. I did have an issue with Dean Blandino all weekend. We'll maybe get into that later. I want to give the Battlehawks their flowers for sure. First, a little bit here. You made a comparison last week that Jacob Sailors was the Saquon Barkley of the UFL, and I thought you were crazy. Honestly, in a bubble, if you're just watching the UFL, hell of a player comp. Nobody could tackle that man today. He does it out of the backfield as a receiver now too, and he's smart. He knows I could stick the ball out at the goal line. I don't got to worry about fumbling. Like, I don't know why San Antonio was dumb enough to fall for that, thinking it was a fumble. The ball clearly broke the plane, right? And Sailors knew that's all he had to do, right? Smart heads-up play for him on the touchdown, but what did he score, 3 times?
Like 3 on the ground.
The hat trick for Jacob Sailors.
Hat trick in the home opener. But yeah, you mentioned that play where he reached out on the goal line. At first glance, obviously, I thought it was good. Then got a little worried after seeing San Antonio celebrate. But yeah, upon further review, Blandino bails us out again. And yeah, he was bailing us out all day. And Matt, obviously, yeah, he didn't bail out your defenders too much either. So, but yeah, we'll talk about him. We'll get into him. But yeah, Anthony Beck, great coaching performance out of him. Moves to 3-0 on the Super Challenges. Won both of his challenges tonight.
How about
and
it? Yeah.
I mean, this guy just has an eye for when these refs don't make the right call. He's got an eye for it. And I thought, Matt, this weekend there was a lot of missed calls by these referees.
Well, it helps when Blandino tells them before the game, hey, guys, I got Battlehawks -7. I'll cut you off a little bit if you just follow along here. No, I kid. But, yeah, you do it all without Hakeem Butler. And then, defensively, I'm ready to say it. It's the best defense in the UFL. I think I was ready to say it was the best pass defense in the UFL. I've been saying that for a while. I texted you during the game, and I said, these DBs are elite. You saw Q Cole come up and get a huge deflection early on, but Brandon Sebastian got himself a pick. Lucas Dennis had a huge hit out of the backfield. CPJ locking up Kirkland all night. Kirkland 4 for 43. That's under his prop, like kind of underwhelming game for him. So the secondary was just incredible. And then the run defense as well. complementing that pass rush with Pita and Feeney, I think both had a sack. And then the linebackers, I mean, it's just unbelievable what Donnie Abraham has put together on defense. I mean, you're looking at back-to-back weeks where this team only allowed 9 points, TPG. And, early look ahead, Defender's offense was out of sorts all night on Saturday. I'm not too confident going against this defense, especially knowing that, the Brahmas did beat themselves in moments, but it just spiraled once that Battlehawks defense got going.
Definitely. Battlehawks defense finished the day with 4 sacks, and every time Mon dropped back to pass, it looked like there was guys in his face. He did not have a lot of time scrambling around and making it really hard for him to find his open receivers. Plus, our DBs didn't give those San Antonio receivers much separation. I know Jacob Harris had a big chunk play. And even McFarland got going on a couple runs. But aside from those plays, this defense was pretty stellar and held San Antonio to minimal yardage all night.
How about this for a Battlehawks defense stat? They stuffed 14 runs for no gain or a loss.
That's amazing.
Run stuff
That's
rate.
amazing.
That's 36% of all the Brahmas carries. Jay Sean Corbin could do nothing. And I kind of leaned that way knowing that Lovett was out. I just didn't see it out of Corbin, and he only went 10 for 38. They should have played McFarland more again. Focusing on the Battlehawks here. Some things by Manny Wilkins that, still I question. I think he had a clear touchdown to Peasy, which would have been nice for you. You had the Peasy touchdown prop, and he had him wide open and just didn't put enough mustard on it. And I made a comment that, that's a touchdown every time with A.J. McCarron. But, in the flip side, A.J. McCarron's not going 9 carries for 58 yards. So I know you're on the Manny train now. Is there anything that's left to be desired with you? Or at this point, are you full go on Wilkins and saying, sorry, Max Duggan, like we know you came into the year probably expecting to start when you joined this team, but it's not going to happen?
Yeah, I'm fully in on Manny. Obviously, he waited his turn for the last 2 years. And football's a game of injuries, right? Guys go down, and Duggan will have his time to shine. And when the opportunity calls, like he better answer. So a little sit and wait game from him, but I guarantee you he's gonna get a chance, if not this season, in the next season. But yeah, I'm excited for Manny to have his opportunity finally, and he's really making the most of it.
All right, now the ugly part. The Brahmas are broken. We talked about this on Thursday. I said, are they? Not willing to say it yet. A.J. Smith on a milk carton. I don't know what is going on. They are missing. They are MIA. They're lost. They're without a paddle down shit creek. I don't know how else to put this. I mean, you come out in your opening drive and you have a 3rd and 6. You're actually moving the ball a little bit. Jacob Harris, who again, you got to listen on Thursdays. We were talking about Jacob Harris a lot. Had a big catch on the first drive. You're thinking, all right, Kellen Mond, get comfortable. So you get a 3rd and 6 on the St. Louis 40. You're in plus territory. Okay, so run the ball, get 3 yards, set up a 4th and 3 from the 37. You have a decision. You can go for it, stay aggressive early, or you can kick a field goal from 52? Destroying got a decent leg on him. At least give him a try. No, that's not what they call a run. 3rd and 6, they go empty set against probably the best pass rusher in the league, Pita Taumopenu, right? And then if you double him, you got Travis Feeney on the other side. You got no running back in there to pass block. How many sacks did we see Mon take against Arlington? Like, how did they not know that they can't do that? Like, 3rd and 6, you're empty. You know you're getting sacked. Kellen Mond is not good under pressure. And I guess that's why he wasn't in the NFL for long. He's just not. He crumbles under pressure. And some of that's on the O-line. But, yeah, I'm looking at that 3rd and 6 saying, you got 2 downs to get it, AJ. And he knows that. What do? You take a sack, and now you got a punt. Now field goal's off the table. Now going for it on 4th down's off the table. You punt it away on your first drive. That was the first red flag for me, that things weren't going to go very well for San Antonio. And then watching the defense. I mean, we know they came in with 2 defensive line guys out. They had Garrett Nelson and Prince Amelia out. That's really tough. And then Greedy Williams, probably, well, not their best corner, but he's a solid NFL, guy who had some experience in the NFL. All out. So you're already kind of playing behind the chains. But just no tackling. I mean, Sailor's running through them. And Klatt talked about this defense being what? Number one in scoring defense, number one in red zone defense, number one in run defense. Like, they were a physical group last year, and they just couldn't tackle. And then to kind of sum it all up, Devontae Beckett, who's probably their leader, right? He kind of dives for a tackle, and he makes the tackle. Great stop by him. But he just lays there. And you can't help but think, like, is he hurt, or do they need a break? And is he like doing this because he's already on the ground and it's like, we need to reset? As a leader, I see us out here huffing and puffing. We're getting run over by this O-line. We need to reset. Felt like that to me. So, man, I don't know where you go. I mean, they looked lost out there on both sides of the ball. I mean, even at the end of the half, you got 36 seconds left, DPG, at the end. And you have a chance to call a pass play and get a first down inside the 3. I think the first down marker was at the 3. San Antonio's in the red zone. They call a run.
It
goes for 2 yards, and then it's like,
seconds,
okay, yeah. Okay, now it's a run, so just blow it dead. They don't call a timeout. It runs all the way to 13. Now you throw a fade, incomplete, try another pass to the end zone, incomplete, you got to kick a field goal. Like, maybe if it's first and goal, but you had a chance to pick up a first down still. You have chance to extend that drive. You can't, at that point, be running the ball and then especially not calling your timeout. I get they wanted to save it because they wanted to make sure they could get the field goal team out there, but, like, you got to just throw to the end zone at that point. You can't be throwing short of the sticks, and if you were to get a first down, you would have some time to run up to the line and clock it, right? But no, and Klatt was even saying it, this is total mismanagement of the clock, right? And I think we all knew that. So I mentioned they had needed a total factory reset at halftime, and I guess you could say they were competitive in the third quarter. It was 6-6 in the third quarter. What did you think in the second half? Because there was a point where there was some momentum. They had scored. The Brahmas went down the field. I think they had like a 6-play, 50-yard drive, something like that. Mon was making some throws. And then what happens on the other end? Interception.
Yeah, the interception by Brandon Sebastian. That crazy bobble play. And he ends up coming up with it. And Battlehawks get the ball in, I believe it was like they're plus 40. So that
was game over.
Set him up in good field goal position. I believe Battlehawks settled for a field goal after that. But I think where this offense and this team just in general runs into a lot of their issues is, you saw it, they flashed the graphic on the screen during the broadcast. They are by far the most penalized team. I believe they had 9 or 10 penalties tonight, and
10 penalties,
when you're constantly like having third and longs, or you have like all these boneheaded penalties on defense, which is giving the offense first down, that really kills the momentum, and you're not able to get off the field and capitalize on those opportunities you should. So, they really got to clean that up. I mentioned this last week that it was a big problem from against Arlington, and it showed up today. But going back to AJ Smith, Matt, as I think it's safe to say now, probably not a good idea to sell your playbook to EA Sports.
Is that what it is? It's the Madden curse, right? We call it the CFB curse. Yeah, I mean, you scored 9 points both weeks. That's not an air raid. Kellen Mond, 13-27, 129 yards and a pick. Anthony McFarland is the most efficient back in the UFL. 6 carries for 55 yards. Receiving, he only gets 1 catch. But that's 9.2 yards a touch. And he gets 6 of them. And they give Corbin the ball 10 times for 38 yards. Is it just, do you think they see McFarland as like a third down back and not an every down guy? Like, is there something about maybe his stamina or like his injury history that I'm not seeing? I know the reason he's in the UFL is because he got hurt all the time in the NFL. So is that what I'm missing here? Because this guy needs to have the ball in his hand. Like, he needs to be an every down back. Corbin had no push at all.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, you saw him get going, ripping off a couple of chunk plays. You mentioned only 1 catch. He actually had another catch on a nice little drag route across the middle, but they called Speedy Stevenson for that DPI on the Super Challenge. So I think they do kind of view him as like a third down, maybe a slot receiver type back. But yeah, he is probably one of the most complete backs in this league aside from Jacob Sailors, and they both have like very similar skill sets. They're great at running the ball and they can catch. So I don't know what the decision is behind that, but AJ Smith has just got to find a way to utilize him more. I know they did a lot of creative things with him last year where it's like motion him out of the backfield, getting the ball in space across the middle, and I just don't understand why that is not a part of the offensive game plan this year.
Yeah, I mean, he gashed the Battlehawks in the XFL Conference Championship. He was the player of the game in that night, and yeah, I guess you have him on kick return too. Like you could probably put somebody else back there. You got a lot of speed. Just throw somebody else back there so he's fresh when you come out on offense. I mean, he's having to run 30, 40 yards and a full sprint every time you start, and then he's probably tired by the time you get the offense going. So, the likelihood of getting a kick return touchdown is very low in this league. So, you got to have another guy, right? Like Speedy Stevenson or Greg Ward who could take a kickoff. I mean, you got to get him more touches. I mean, he's doing great things with them when you do get him the ball. But, yeah, credit to this Battlehawks defense, man. We knew they were solid. San Antonio, 223 total yards, 11 first downs, 1 of 3 in the red zone, was a problem. But, yeah, I mean, I was doing the math because we had the under 39.5 and the +7. I'm like, man, there's only one possible score where this thing could get both. And it would have been a push on 7. I was like, if we can get to 23-16, we could get a push on +7 and then the under. But as the game went on, I'm just praying, don't throw a pick 6 if you're Kellen Mond. And then I'm going to need Anthony Beck to take a couple knees, which he's done now both weeks for me, to save an under. And listen, I'm a Penn State fan, so I'm used to watching James Franklin score at the buzzer with the third string in. So it's kind of a relief, sometimes. And I think every UFL under is cashed so far. I'm not sure we got over in a single game that I could think of. Maybe Arlington, San Antonio,
and
week
then
one.
I think we have like maybe 2 pushes, but yeah, for the most part, it's been all unders. But I will say, I do remember back to last season, week 3 was kind of the week that all of the overs starting to come in, the offenses started rolling. So, it's kind of expected with the short training camp, only 3 weeks, and these teams are trying to figure out like what works best for them. So I think next week will be a better week for the offenses.
Yeah, it has to be. So St. Louis will host DC. San Antonio, will they go on the road to Michigan, or are they?
I believe they're on the road. On the road, they don't have a home game until like the end of April because of the whole Final Four thing.
Yeah. See, I was thinking Kellen Mond. If he didn't perform in this one, you got to go to somebody else. But clearly they have no confidence in Kevin Hogan because they put Jarrett Garantano as QB2. So they're very clearly going with Mond because you're not playing Jarrett Garantano, for Christ's sake. So Kellen Mond's going to start for this team, for better or for worse. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. If I put it all on him, he found Jacob Harris a couple times, 3 catches for 69 yards. I think it's just kind of a stinker from the whole team effort, and that includes coaches. You were a 7-point dog, went in there and lost by 17. You really only had some life in the third quarter, and that Battlehawks crowd just took the wind out of the sails. So
yeah, Matt, what do you think of Wade Phillips? I mean, he's sitting on the sideline checking his phone. He's looking like his nipples could cut glass. Like, what do you make of Wade like during all this?
Yeah, I wish their rush defense was as hard as his nipples, right? They're soft. What'd you say? Soft
as baby shit. Yeah. I mean, and the tackling again this week, like just wasn't there for him. So I mean, they got to take a page out of the Houston Roughnecks book and show up defensively next week.
Yeah, and they switched a couple things up in the second half. I think they made some adjustments that sort of worked out a little bit. I texted you and said, big momentum shift here. They scored and then got a stop right away. That was their only chance, and then Mond threw a pick, and you knew it was game, like we said. So, yeah, for St. Louis, not to totally spoil the power poll, but it's pretty clear through 2 weeks who the most dominant team in the UFL is, right?
Has to be.
It's almost, you worry. Going to peak at the right time here, or is this team going to continue to get better? Mm-hmm. You don't want to have that slump, but you got a huge one with probably the best 2 teams in the UFL going at it in week 3. And boy, are we going to have fun on Thursday.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
I'm going to go after you St. Louis scumbag. I'm ready, man. Shannon Harris with the chip on his shoulder will have a loaded Thursday show for you. But yeah, let's put a bow on this one. St. Louis 26, San Antonio 9. Misread this one. Thought it was going to be close. Picked San Antonio for the hell of it, straight up, just to piss him off. But ultimately, this did not go the way I thought it did. TPG, credit you again. Your Battlehawks are 2-0. We got more games to talk about. Let's move into
the one you were at, right?
Let's do Memphis and DC. Man, when I got up there and the windows were open in the Audi Field press box, the vibes were high. I could smell the beer already, right? Yeah, just a perfect night for football. I mean, not a drop of rain. And usually it takes till the end of the first quarter for the beer snake crowd to roll in there in section 137, but they were out in force. I do want to say before we break this one down, if anybody has the video proof of me catching Matt McCrane's field goal warm-up, I fair caught it, and I had the whole beer snake section behind me. So I'm standing there, flirting with the beer snake, talking to the boys, saying hi to everybody. And here comes a ball right to me. And this thing's spinning end over end. Matt McCrane has a leg on him, right? And I wait for it. I'm like, all right, now I got to catch it. And, man, it took my whole body to catch it. Like, he
knocked the wind out of you?
Piss out of that thing. But, yeah, I got a little cheer from the beer snake. They said, sign him, sign Matty. I'm like, damn, somebody's got to have a video. That's like my most athletic thing I've done in years. So, nonetheless, we got actual football players to talk about. One of them being EJ Perry. I know people expect me to start things off with DC because I'm biased, and I will talk about them. But how about EJ?
Great game from him.
They found their quarterback in Memphis, and Ken Wisenhunt made a comment in the presser after it and said, I think somebody mentioned him only scoring 12 points in both weeks, and he was like, well, I wasn't here for the first one. Well, that was evident, right, because they didn't rotate quarterbacks. It was very clear that Jim Turner wanted to play as many guys as possible, and Ken Wisenhunt probably doesn't agree, and he's going to play the best players no matter what. I think they even had Jonathan Adams rotating out in week 1. Leave that guy on the field like forever. He might be the best receiver in the UFL, so... Yeah, you had Memphis, 12-9 game there at the end. They played great defense, I thought, throughout the first half. How about 11 minutes? They hold the ball in the first quarter.
The time of possession,
and I came out Thursday and said, Fred Keiss is the one who's going to ball control you to death and get the field position working. But, man, they held the ball and they played good defense. So, yeah, was there ever a time in that game, TPG, where you felt pretty confident the Boats were going to win?
I mean, yeah, first drive right off the bat, they're moving the ball well. Obviously, Perry throws a pick on that first drive, which really sucks because if they get 3 right there, I think the game looks a whole lot different. But, I mean, just the way the defense was playing, they had Tamu out of sync all day, heating them up. The D-line was getting some good pressure, stuff in the run. I mean, I felt really good about the side I was on. Obviously, Memphis doesn't capitalize on certain opportunities. Like I said, EJ throws that pick in the red zone. They get the field goal blocked at the end. But I thought for the most part, EJ definitely outperformed Jordan Tiamu in this game.
Yeah, that's fair to say. But guess who won?
Yeah.
Right. That's all I care about in the end. And it probably would have been by more if not for I got a new nickname for him, by the way. Dean Blindino.
Yeah, that's great.
How do you rob us of Air Jordan like that? I mean, literally took it. That stadium went crazy. Jordan is hitting the John Wall there, and you take it away from us. Like, that was a touchdown.
We should add that. I should add that to the blooper reel. Premature celebration.
That was a 13-play drive for DC, and they were looking good on that drive. But I mean, yeah, there was some crazy stuff going on. I actually didn't know. Shannon Harris said in the presser that one of Tamu's balls hit the zip line, like the sky cam. I don't know if that, I didn't watch the broadcast. Obviously, I'm up in the press box, but had they mentioned that at all?
No,
I don't. There was actually a ball straight off the sky.
I mean, if they did, I missed it, but
it just grazed it enough to not completely change the path of the ball. But I think it was on one of them where it looked like the receiver was going back shoulder, and Jordan threw in front of him, and it was like that didn't look good. But I think it just grazed the the sky cam. Which
I must have missed that. It might have been Cornell Powell's name. Maybe it was the one to him.
I think so,
potentially.
Yeah. I just know Coach Harris mentioned it. He didn't say exactly when it happened, but we talked about in the press conference DC not getting the breaks. Like right away in the first drive, there was a no call on a pass interference. They challenge it. They call it pass interference against DeAndre Baker. That was big for Memphis to get a field goal out of that drive. And then, the Jordan Ta'amu touchdown gets overturned. There was an unnecessary roughness that was crazy called against a D lineman on DC that I thought that should have been looked at. And then in the second half, E.J. Perry's a yard across the line of scrimmage and lets it go, and they got a 40-yard completion out of it. They throw the flag. It's clearly over the line of scrimmage, and then here goes Blind Dino with the 3 blind mice. It just reverses it. I'm like, they're going to give him 40 yards here. Like, this is a ball game now. So, DC wasn't catching any breaks.
There was another one, too. I forget who the receiver was, but it was on the sideline. It was, like, late when Memphis was driving. And I thought, like, from my angle, watching on TV, it looked like he only got 1 foot down, and Blandino's in the command center. He's watching it on the monitors, and the monitors, like, completely freeze, like, the angle he's looking at. And then he, like, looks over to some other screen that you don't see, and he's like, I'm going to confirm this a catch. And I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
But,
he had to get some more batteries in his Xbox controller there.
Exactly. But, whatever was going on at Replay HQ this weekend was, we need Mike Pereira back. To have Blandino for all 4 games, come on, split it up 2 and 2 at Matt. Like, if we have Blandino next week for DC St. Louis, I don't feel too good about that. I want Mike Pereira reviewing our calls.
Yeah, you could ask Jake Russell from the Washington Post. He was sitting up there with me watching the game, covering it, and there's fans literally turned around yelling at us, "Where is he? Where's Blandino? Tell him this, tell him that."
He's in the stadium.
By the way, fans at Audi Field are electric. First, they think we're the offensive coordinator, and we'll get people turning around and yelling at us, How do you punt there? It's 4-down territory, or what kind of call was that? Run the ball. Yelling at us, and I'm saying, dude, And then when DC scores the game-winning touchdown there with the little pop pass from JT to Bresnahan down there on the goal line, I kind of leaned down the fans. I'm like, how'd you like that call? We drew that one up. Huh? But no, credit to Fred Keiss for that. That was a good drive for DC. And Chris Rowland, man, he's the spark that, just seems to make a play when DC needs it the most. This goes all the way back to last season. Man, what a get he has become. Ty Scott, solid again when I thought some of the other receivers underperformed. Jaden Mickens is the big one that.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. You're 30, so you're probably not trying to get back in the NFL at this point. Maybe they would say that, but you can't come out in week 1 and say, Google me, chirping the Stallions. And then when we Google you, guess what we're going to see? That drop. Yeah. Walk-in touchdown. Just, you hate to see it. So that's why I don't put everything on Jordan, but he certainly had a C game. I mean, he didn't play great. And like you said, Perry probably played a little bit better. Perry fought, and Perry got hurt. He was asked after the game about the abdomen, and he's like, I'll be fine. It just shook it off immediately. But I mean, they're clearly more comfortable under Wisenhunt.
Definitely.
No question. Run game left a little bit to be desired. I mean, not a bad game from Deneric Prince. 9 carries, 44 yards. Gets himself about 5 yards a carry. They're physical, right? That's the difference. Memphis was so soft last season, and defensively, I go back to the one on the goal line when they ended up reversing that Ta'amu touchdown on the leap into the end zone on the run in the first half. What happened on the next play? Do you remember? They're at the 1-yard line. All you got to do is sneak it. Just get JT behind Mike Maietti, the center, and just plow in. They handed it off. And Deion Jackson lost about 9 yards. I'm trying to think who came up for Memphis. P.J. Hall. Huge stop there on the goal line to force a field goal. So there was definitely some uncharacteristic things. Matt McCrane made 3 field goals. He did miss one on a 40.
Hey, so Matt, you probably missed this, but Joe Tessitore with an all-time jinx on Matt McCrane before that field. Before that field goal.
God.
It's I included it in the sights and sounds. I had to, but right before the field goal, he mentioned, hey, Matt McCrane 7 for 7 on the year. What do you know? Wide left. So
yeah, I think he had a field goal in every quarter, is what they were saying, and that would have made it 8 for 8. So all good things come to an end, but Yeah, I mean, the 2-point play.
Oh,
I was kind of mad that they were going for 2 because I know they always do. Like, they've never gone for 1. I mean, I think maybe the only time they've ever gone for 1 is when they needed to tie it. When they were down 1 late to Arlington last year, but I could be wrong about that. But yeah, you're lining up going for 2 when you're up 3. I'm like, damn, dude, just go up 4. You know, like get the 1. But hey, the 2-point play they drew up didn't look good at first when you had about 6 boats around rolling, and then whoop, flips it over the top to Cornell Powell, and that ended up being huge because then Memphis had to go all the way and score. And you know that when that crowd gets rocking in Audi Field and you got to go down and score driving into the Beer Snake, that's tough. Yeah. They got to delay a game. That place gets loud for the big moments. And it was kind of back-to-back weeks, same situation. Opposing team driving towards the Beer Snake, have to score a touchdown to win the game. It was literally like I felt like I had deja vu with those 2 moments. Standing in the same place right behind Von Hutchins, recording the end of a game yet again, thinking, I just know this defense is going to come up with a play. They blocked the field goal. Huge play by Devonta Maxwell there because everyone that's at home screaming at their TV is saying what? TPG. We're down 5. Why are you kicking a field goal? Well,
4th and 12.
You want to kick it. You want to get the 4th and 12. Right. It's a very smart play by Wisenhunt. But it all gets thwarted because you block it, and now DC is going to get possession. Now what are you going to do? Well, they had a couple timeouts. They got a free timeout because there was a flag. So they ended up actually having, I think, 4 timeouts and maybe even the 2-minute warning as well, unless that had already happened. I think that had already happened. So they had like 4,
I think
almost a
there was about 2 minutes left.
So DC had to pick up the first. Yeah. So what'd you think of the DC run game? Go for it.
Or I'll answer your question first, and then we can follow up with mine. I mean, I thought it was underwhelming for the most part. But on the flip side, when you have Jaron Horton as the opposing defensive coordinator, and he's same thing as last week against Michigan, he's calling out plays before they even happen, whether it's like run or pass. Like, he understands tendencies really well. So obviously, that's hard. Very physical front 7, pass rush, able to get good pressure with only 4 guys. And yeah, I mean, they bottled up that run pretty good this week, but they also held Michigan to 3-point-something yards per carry too. So, I mean, obviously, going up against this defense, it's not going to be easy, but I mean, the ground game I thought though for DC was a tad better this week. You could see that offensive line coming together, playing better as a unit.
Yeah, Abram Smith 16 carries.
But I also, Matt, I want
yards. Yeah.
Or no, okay. So here's my question for you. So 2nd straight week that Jordan Tiamu has a completion percentage under 50%. Are you worried at all for next week going up against arguably the best secondary in the league?
Absolutely. Without question. I had said in week 1, it looked like a solid 5-man rotation. Antonio had some big plays. Mickens made a huge play on that wheel route. And some of the new guys, right, kind of mixed in really well. I think Cornell Powell had a couple of catches, but they were non-existent. Like, Jordan has to rely on Ty Scott and Chris Rowland.
That's what I was going to say, those guys. Someone
has got to step up here as a third option.
I was going to say that, Like, it seems like, the 2 guys he has from last year, he's got good chemistry with, but just didn't seem like he could get on the same page with any of these other guys. There's multiple drops from, I remember Cornell Powell had one, obviously Mickens. But yeah, I don't know. Like you said, someone's got to step up. And we were thinking, this was going to be Lynn Bowden that was going to step up. But now, you got to find this other guy that's going to be that number 3 target.
I feel it coming with Powell, but 9 targets in week 1, only caught 2. 5 targets this week, didn't have a catch. Man, there's receivers in this league who would love to have 14 targets in 2 weeks. Like that, you gotta do something else with that. But yeah, there was some things on offense I didn't like. They brought Mike DeLello in on the goal line and got stuff. You need to keep your quarterback in. I hate when teams do that. listen, it's not De'Ara King in 2023. Like, you could get away with that with him because he was a stud and the dude was just a pure athlete. But yeah, Mike DeLello, good for him that he's on the team. I don't want to see him in on the goal line again. Keep your damn quarterback in. DC's defense, came through when they needed it most, but they didn't really play great either. I mean, no sacks. After an 8-sack explosion in week 1, they got no pressure. And that's concerning against St. Louis. Because you're going against probably the best offensive line in the UFL in week 3. They buckled down in the red zone again. Memphis is 1 of 4 on red zone touchdown tries. They had to settle for a ton of field goals. And, the defense made the plays when they needed to. Keandre Thomas had a nice interception. Saw him chirping on Twitter, by the way. He made a great point. Houston traded Keandre Thomas for Jalen McClendon. Ooh. I completely forgot about that until he mentioned it. Jalen McClendon is QB3 in Houston.
Well, he should be QB1 maybe coming up. Because they got to find an option. But
Keandre Thomas was probably Houston's best corner. And again, CJ Johnson said something about he wasn't available for all the games. Like, so trade him for a reserve quarterback that won't play in any. Like, just a masterclass by Johnson, I'll tell you. But nice to see him get a pick. I'm sure he's happy to be in DC and not Houston at this point. A couple injuries for DC coming into this one. Monte Nicholson is a guy at safety that I think went to IR with a neck injury, and then there's some guys that are going to have to fill in for him at safety. But yeah, Liam Fornadell back, didn't play the whole game, but definitely mixed in at guard, and you could tell they were getting more push. 32 carries for 113 yards on the ground, and that's what you can expect with Jordan Thomas. These 13 for 28, 11 for 25 type of stat lines, because they're not going to hit every pass, but they've been able to generate some yak. They get those big slants where you got a man running free, and there was definitely some missed opportunities. But yeah, DC wins at 17-12. They're 2-0. 13,100 something in Audi Field. Attendance goes up again.
That's nothing.
Proud of the DC fan. We'll get there. We got time. It only helps to win. And, when you're going to be 3-0 going into your next home game, we'll see if they can maybe push it to 15 or 16. The record there is 18. So that's going to be hot. I
do have a question for you about attendance. Do you think when they come out with these attendance figure numbers, like, you think that's the number of tickets they've sold, or as many people in the stands? Because I don't know, when you're watching some of these games on TV and then you see the attendance numbers, like, it just makes you scratch your head. Even like St. Louis, like, it was reported they had like 32,000 tonight, but there were some open sections in that lower bowl. So I don't know. They give it the benefit of the doubt, saying like, hey, we sold X amount of tickets, but I don't know if that's like an accurate number of that many people are actually there.
No, I don't think so. I actually counted them myself, and all 13,100 were there. So yeah, none of that nonsense. We talk ball in this show.
Yeah.
And strictly ball.
No attendance. Yeah, sorry.
Leave the attendance and ratings to the pundits, right? All right, that's DC. They get outgained by 50 yards. They win by 5. That is DC Defenders football, if I've ever seen it, right? Let's go to Birmingham, Michigan. Friday night, you got to refresh your memory a little bit.
A while ago.
It feels like an eternity ago. So, opening thought on this. Obviously, Birmingham wins 21-12. Alex Magoo, or as we like to call him, the Ripper. Ripper Magoo.
Gets his shoulder ripped out first play.
Yeah, but think about the irony of this. So, as a person who watched the B League, right? You did in 2022 or 23 or whenever they played.
I'm not going to answer this.
I had learned through some B League watchers that Alex Magoo came in to save the season after Jamar Smith got hurt in week 1.
No, this was, if you're going back to USFL 2022, Jamar Smith was the starter basically all season. In the championship game, he gets hurt second half, and Magoo, rallies the team late.
What about the next year after that?
The next year, I believe Jamar Smith starts the season he goes down with an injury. I believe it was like an ACL or something. And then, Magoo has his
one of the first
games,
it
was
right?
First game of the season, and then Magoo rips off MVP season.
Here we go. Now you're on the other end of history. You took over for Jamar Smith, led your team to a championship. Would have Alex Magoo ever played had Jamar Smith stayed healthy? Alex Magoo starts off 2025 as Birmingham's starting quarterback. Suffers an injury on the first snap in week 2. Matt Corral comes in to lead him to the promised land. Kind of wild how what goes around comes back around, in the famous words of Beyonce. That's wild when you think about it that way. But yeah, Skip Holtz interaction with Alex on the sideline when he's like, yeah, I think he's like, it came out of socket. Like, they ripped it out, but I'm good. I'm throwing. And Skip's like, yeah, well, I don't know.
Go sit down.
You know what he wants to say. He's your ass is benched the rest of the game. And now I can hide behind, well, he was injured. Skip is a loyal guy. We know he loves Alex Magoo, right? That's his dude. And that's the guy he wants to ride with thick and thin. But some of the commentary we got from him after week 1 where it was like, oh, I probably should have made the call. Like, that's on me that I didn't put Corral in. Dude, here's your sign from the universe. You got to get Matt Corral in this game, dude. You got to win this game. So thank you, Skip Holtz, from the bottom of my heart for starting Alex Magoo in week 1. I'm very grateful that DC was able to start out 1-0 because I know he threw a pick against Michigan there early on, and it was a really dumb pick on a 3rd and 16 where they could have just kicked a field goal. But he played a good game otherwise.
I mean, Matt, he did have 2 picks. He did have 2 picks, and I mean, this is another.
You live and die with
another point I want to touch on. I think the story of this game was more so Michigan beating themselves than the Stallions beating Michigan. I mean, you have the dropped pick 6 first half. Corral could have thrown 3 picks. Yeah. Get stuffed on the goal line. You have your best offensive drive of the game. You get all the way 4th and goal. Very Penn State-esque to just run the ball 4 straight times on the goal line, get stuffed. Right. And then obviously the muff punt on the end by Devin Ross. I mean, if they get the ball back, it's a 9-point game, and you go down and score. You could go for 3, and even if you don't get it, like, you still have a 4th and 12. So I think for Michigan, it's more so just like overcoming this mental barrier of like, hey, we're gonna beat the Stallions. But I mean, the opportunities were there. They just couldn't capitalize.
Yeah, it is hard to score against Birmingham's defense. Credit them. That's why DC had to settle for 4 field goals in week 1. So they are very tough. They're right up there with St. Louis, I think. But yeah, you're right. Michigan did beat themselves to a point. But again, when you're talking about those moments, the ones you just went through and the blunders for the Panthers, it's coaching too. And I think it's mainly coaching because when Danny Etling comes in the game, it's like a helium balloon that just comes crashing down to the ground. The energy's out of your sideline. The energy's out of your crowd. Sure, Bryce Perkins didn't play a perfect first quarter. But you got to ride with him because he has the potential to make a play at any given moment. You put Etling in, you wedge him in there and force him in again in the second quarter, just like you did in week 1. And it's, short run, incompletion, sack, 3 and out. You get to the end of this game, it's a 9-point game, and you can't help but think, what if Bryce scores on that drive?
Or you get 3.
That's a drive you took away from him. Or, even if you get 3,
points.
It's a different ball game. So, you're not, there's no evidence to say that when Danny Etling comes into the game, you are even moving the sticks and getting first downs. There's no production. And that's because he's predictable. He can run, but he's not the runner that Bryce Perkins is, and it makes your offense one-dimensional. It makes it run on 1st and 2nd, and then you have to throw it on 3rd down, and then they'll just feast on you by rushing the passer. I don't know what it is with Mike Nolan, and I had tweeted at you, all right, 10-play, 68-yard drive for Bryce Perkins. You know what time it is. Here comes Danny Dimes, baby.
Well, Matt,
Thank God they did.
what about late in the game and they had that 4th and 3 from about midfield and they're trailing 18-9 at this point and they decide to punt? Like, why? And I forget how much time's left.
It's Mike Nolan.
It's just this conservative,
Mike Nolan,
yeah.
This vanilla team, yeah. But that's how he is, and you get the gist from watching him and everything he does, right? That he is by the book.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely very old school, conservative type of coach. But yeah, I mean, Devin Ross, that's a killer. Like watching him on the sidelines, knowing that it was midfield, right? That he did that. Mm-hmm. So they probably would have had the ball in plus territory to start things out. That was a killer. But yeah, Skip Holtz owns Mike Nolan. I think, you can't blame an individual player or an individual moment in this. It's just the coaching. This is 0-5 against Skip Holtz now for Mike Nolan.
0-6. 0-6 now.
Is he 0-6?
Yeah.
Well, I know the Panthers are 0-6, but I don't think he was there in the first year of the
Well, no, he wasn't.
So,
he came the second year, but...
Yeah, but, I mean, just going through... Right. Yeah, but a lot of bad completion percentages from quarterbacks around the league. I mean, 52% for Perkins. He goes 12 for 23. They got a nice 1-2 punch in the backfield. McCrary and Colburn running well.
I mean...
But
the run game.
Another thing that you could say for Birmingham is like, man, how about Ricky Person? He was great.
He showed some flashes, but I think for the most part, this Stallion run game was pretty bottled up for the most part. Michigan was coming after him on defense. Like they were suffocating the run, getting some good pressure up front. But on the flip side, I thought Michigan did run the ball really well. Like you mentioned, McCrary, Colburn, 1-2 punch. Colburn did go down late in that game with an injury. And also McCrary went down too, but he came back in the game. But like this is something we also got to monitor coming back because these are, two great running backs. And if you don't have these guys moving forward, it's going to be really hard for Bryce Perkins to, do anything without a solid run game behind him.
So the question is, before we close this one out, week 3, Friday night against Arlington, back in Protective Stadium. Who runs out first? He's got a decision to make because I think Magoo's going to be cleared. He was clearly upset because he was cleared. And I think they were saying on the broadcast, like, if it's a separated shoulder, how is he cleared? But, I mean, he said he was cleared. You can only really take his word for it. But I just feel like this offense is more comfortable with Matt Corral. Even on that first play, that was an RPO. Like, if that's a first play for Matt Corral, they're not running an RPO. Like they're getting comfortable in the pass game. And you have Deion Kane, who is just a burner.
Absolute burner.
Like such a deep threat. I mean, I feel like I'm watching the same play on repeat with him on the go route. He's done it time and time again. Can Alex Magoo throw the dime that Corral did? I mean, he put it right there in stride for him. That ball caught Deion Kane. That was a dime. I know you like to tweet me throughout the weekend, throwing on a dime.
Especially when it comes from Manny Wilkins.
Appreciate you. But I think my favorite part of this game was the fact that Magoo ended up 0 for 1 and I had the under passing, so they can't void the prop because he did get one snap.
I'm surprised they didn't.
And so we cashed.
It'd be very on point for ESPN Bet if they did.
I would riot. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, I mean, 21-12. So another under game. There was late money coming in on Michigan.
They flipped to the favorite, yeah.
Right at kick, it flipped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
that's kind of when I knew I was like, I'm fucked because I thought everyone was going to be on the Stallions. Hey, they looked bad last week, but maybe they bounced back. But I think my opinion was the popular opinion, whereas like, hey, this is the time Michigan can finally get them, and turns out they're gonna have to wait till I don't know when they play, but later on this season, get their shot at knocking off the Stallions.
Well, you weren't alone. A lot of people are on Michigan, and I think my kind of projection of this spot holds true, where it's like I think Birmingham gets them in week 2, but I think Michigan in the long run, I still see some promise, especially defensively. They're tough. DJ Miller, we didn't highlight him. 2 picks.
Great game.
And he's up against Jordan Thomas one-on-one. Jordan Thomas, 6'7",
he's
280.
huge.
Like, he's like LeBron
He's
size.
huge.
And he went one-on-one with him, giving up 7 inches for like 2 or 3 plays to the end zone. Like, they kept throwing to the end zone for him, and they could not get the ball to Thomas. And then he had a big pick. He had 2 picks. So that was the guy we didn't even talk about in the secondary. We were talking about Kai Nakua and Bryce Tornanen, and
we didn't even mention
here
him.
comes DJ Miller. So, yeah, the defense is for real. Colin Bowers got himself a hell of a unit. And I'm not willing to overreact to this and say, okay, I'm completely out on Michigan now. I think you will see them a little lower in our power poll just because, right, we kind of have to after they didn't score through 3 quarters, right? They were held scoreless until the 4th. And that, yeah, we talk about that drive where it was 4 runs to McCrary. Like you said, that was ugly football. That's just impossible, right? You got to throw it, or at least let Perkins.
And I don't understand. It felt like they just, the run game was working for them, and they kept on trying to go away from it. They just kept on trying to drop back and pass. But like they showed the most success when they were A, running the football, and B, doing the RPOs. And they get away from that. Bryce Perkins, I mean, I don't view him as like a drop back pocket passer. He plays his best football when he's, scrambling out to his right, throwing on the run. Making those decisions, whereas like, hey, am I giving this? Am I pulling it? Am I throwing the hitch? Like, I don't know. You got to let him just like do him out there. Like he made that, that Superman play, finding Marcus Sims in the back of the end zone. Like, you got to play to his strengths. I don't think this, drop back passing attack, suits him well.
Right. All right, let's touch quick on Houston-Arlington. We're not going to spend much time on this, just like we didn't really spend much time on it Thursday.
I have a lot to say, though, about this game.
Do you really?
No,
well, you can be off and running because, like, 11-9, scoregami, and not just the UFL, but the NFL has never had an 11-9 game. Shout out UFL scoregami on X for pointing that out. I thought that was probably the most interesting thing that happened on Sunday afternoon.
It's a high-scoring baseball game.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this. This game used to mean something. Like,
I will say, if I could
3-3 through 3 quarters.
Here, can I make a quick point about this game?
Go for it.
Hey, I think here, I'm trying to pull up the stats too, but while I do this, I think this Houston defense was much improved from a week ago, given the fact like how long they were on the field. It felt like every time the offense was out there, it was the 3-and-out offense basically. But, this defense, they watched the film and they really stepped up and took pride in, who they are as a unit. And, I thought their tackling was much improved. Their secondary was amazing, like shutting down Luis Perez and all those receivers that he's been with for multiple years was, really impressive. And laying the lick on some guys like Sal Cannella, he got popped a good time. And yeah, they just didn't make it easy. Obviously, I think Arlington, the run game was still there for them. They were ripping off some chunk runs, but, for the most part, I think Houston, rose to the occasion and showed us, hey, they're not a complete pushover in this league. And if you don't take them serious, they could definitely beat you on any given week.
Yeah, that's not – I mean, I see some points. I like the points about the secondary where, Corn Elder, I mean, he laid the cob on Sal Cannella, let's put it that way. But, yeah, I don't see it from Houston. I still don't know if they can win a game. I mean, I guess defensively, but, again, Arlington's dealing with 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We kind of called this on Thursday. It was an automatic under because we knew the weather was going to be bad. And we knew people were going to overreact to Arlington scoring 33 on week 1. And you look at the box score from week 1, and it's like all the metrics, like the offensive efficiency and like the rush success rate, like they weren't great for Arlington in week 1. So there were some red flags. And now, you realize like with this offense, 33 points is kind of an outlier. They can do that. We've seen them go over 30, even back to last year. But they can also have these duds. And when they continue to have these duds because they can't get anything going, they will have somebody sneak up on them like Memphis or Michigan or, someone's going to sneak up on Arlington. I don't think they'll be 2-0 for long. I mean, at this point, you're 2-0 against what I think are the worst 2 teams in the UFL, Houston and San Antonio. So you're going to get your challenge here in week 3. against Birmingham. Find out what your offense is really made of. A couple bright spots. Isaiah Winstead.
Oh yeah.
Guy they've been trying to get going for a long time. Yeah, he kind of emerges as wide receiver one now. I don't think this room really has a true wide receiver one. I think these guys will each kind of have their individual weeks. Everybody thought coming in it was Tyler Vaughn's, but he only gets one target today. So Winstead gets 9, and he was the go-to guy.
I would say he is.
Yeah, Sal Cannella got rocked.
I would say though Winstead is probably like one of the most improved players we've seen from last year. I mean, he showed some flashes last year.
He was hurt a lot.
I mean, he showed some flashes in that opening game against Birmingham. He burnt the secondary and caught that long deep ball. I'm pretty sure he had another touchdown against the Battlehawks like late in the year, but I mean, yeah, he's just been an absolute target machine, and Perez just really loves going to him.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, I did.
Yeah, Arlington defense really good too. Holds Houston to 63 rush yards.
I do think though, like this Renegades offense, like they did move the ball at times. Like I just think it just stalled out. It was never consistent. Bad penalty. Moves them behind the chains. Like it was more so. Yeah, I guess it was just more so the Renegades getting in their own way than Houston shutting them down. But I thought Houston stepped up to the occasion, and they're going to be a team to watch out for maybe down the road, especially next week when you got Memphis and them squaring off.
What a game. It could be interesting depending on some things. Like Houston had 9 tackles for loss. Definitely a bright spot on defense. A defense that got ran through by St. Louis. They responded. The offense, however, I mean, we call it an oatmeal offense on Thursday. Eric Price got to go. Got to go. It's not working. Anthony Brown, 14 to 30, 179 yards. I mean, surprised that we didn't see more Nolan. When he does come in, he goes 0 for 3. Then Brown ultimately settles in late in the 4th there and executes that touchdown drive. Nice throw to Kiki Chisholm. Get him going along the far sideline. And then you had one to Emmanuel Butler in the end zone. And, really thought they were going to get the 2-pointer to tie it up
That would have been so fun.
The pocket broke down, and Brown is fast. And he really gave it his all. Like, I don't question Anthony Brown's effort at all. Like, he didn't chase Garbers that thing and, slide before the first down marker. He was really putting his shoulder down and doing everything he could to lead his team to a win, and needed to see that from him because he seemed, out of sorts in week 1. So yeah, there was guys that responded for sure. Very disappointing to though to see like Kirk Merritt just can't get him going. You get him 3 touches in the receiving game. He gets 5 carries and he only has a combined 30 yards out of 11 touches. And then you have Justin Hall, probably one of the best players on the field in this matchup, limited to 1 catch for 11 yards. So your boy Jaden Price was all over the place again, covering these roughneck receivers, and the Roughnecks do have some good receivers.
They do.
So,
and I mean, I think this offense was best when they were, going no huddle late in the game. I mean, on that scoring play, they had 4 of those plays were 10+ yards or more. So, and I think that definitely plays to Brown's strengths when you're, winding down the play clock, giving the defense, time to adjust to what you're trying to do offensively. I don't think that plays to your strengths at all because you just don't have the talent, I think. So, I mean, utilizing this quicker tempo, I think would definitely help this team. But yeah, we'll see what the decision is made. But hey, I feel like CJ was pretty competent in this game. He goes 1 for 1 on super challenges. Obviously, he gets challenges as DPI. Another one doesn't go his way, but he also kind of seemed much improved too. Maybe it was I don't know what receiver that was, but one of his receivers knocking some sense into him on the sideline.
Hey, Bob Stoops just seemed like he was freezing in this game. Like after the game, he's got the hood up. He's just like ready to leave. Like Bob Stoops is from Iowa, so I don't think he was cold, but man, like you could just like look around at this game and just tell. And they didn't do bad with attendance. They get over 10K, but yeah, just kind of a stinker from all ends. But we love the UFL, so we watch the games, right? And I thought ESPN did a good job with this one. Commentary-wise, there was some time where I couldn't see the clock and the down and
yeah.
distance, which was pissing me off. But so from a production standpoint, maybe a C minus. But yeah, commentary was all right.
I love Cole Kublik on the sidelines. He's the best.
Cole's
He's
great.
the best.
Cole's great for sure. Day Hunter had himself a nice little day. I mean, he's probably got the most carries in the UFL through 2 games. He had a 16 carry week in week 1 and 14 here in week 2. Davion Smith did not play. So you might question, you score 33 with Davion Smith. You score 11 without him. Just saying. Might want to play that man a little bit more, even though they were just 1-yard carries for touchdowns in week 1. But yeah, offensive line, got to get better for Arlington. Let's roll from this right into the power poll, because I actually want to make a point about Arlington as we go into the power poll. A lot of people are going to be pretty surprised when we have Arlington as low as we do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, TPG and I had a discussion about this right before the show. He went one way, I went the other, and we kind of settled on a middle ground. And I think Arlington, it's just, you're 3-7 last year. We need to see you against Birmingham. Like, I'm not completely saying not a playoff team. I know their odds they were kind of a long shot coming into the season, and they were a trendy pick because they do have some playmakers, but I got to see against Birmingham. I really do, because they didn't play well against the Stallions last year, and that kind of led to, an 0-6 start. So if, like, a loss against Birmingham ends up being a kick in the pants and they end up losing 5 or 6 in a row like they did last year, they could be in trouble, because this is a very tough conference with DC and St. Louis in there. You're going to have to crack that top 2. You're already sort of on the outside looking in from a statistical standpoint. But yeah, let's run through the power poll quick, TPG. Your Battlehawks at 1. If we had questions about that in week 1, there's no questions left. They're currently right now. They are early season champions. Congratulations. It means nothing, especially when you got number 2 DC coming in to upset you in week 2. Week 3, we got Birmingham at 3. We got Arlington at 4. That's the one where people are going to ask why. Birmingham's a different team with Matt Corral. And that's consistent with our expectations coming in. TPG talked them up before the game in week 1. I talked them up last week. Just a different team with him in there. I think that was the right choice, and I think they will stick with him now. And Birmingham becomes number 3. Arlington at 4. Michigan at 5. Again, if Arlington and Michigan were head-to-head tomorrow, I might pick Michigan, but, that 1-1 is, there are some things that you could look at in that loss that, like you said, beating yourself and things that don't really inspire confidence. But we're going to go Michigan at 5, Memphis at 6, San Antonio at 7. The Brahmas are a huge disappointment for me coming in. In fact, I'm sitting on their over 5.5 wins, thinking, now I got to go what? We got 8 left. I got to go 5-3 the rest of the way, or I got to go 6-2 the rest of the way.
And it doesn't get any easier for you next week.
No, not at all. Houston at 8. Early look at lines. Birmingham is a 3-point favorite against Arlington at home on Friday night. That one made TPG's jaw drop a little bit. And I think, again, when we're ranking these teams, it's like who would be favored on a neutral field? Well, if Birmingham's a 3-point favorite at home, you can assume they'd probably be a 1-point favorite on a neutral field. So, yeah, the odds makers think that Birmingham is the favorite here. Memphis, 3-point favorite against Houston. That's a lean. That's an early lean for me. Maybe a coming out party for the boats, I think there. Michigan, 4.5-point favorite against San Antonio. Wow. That's an under, right? That's got to be an under in that spot. I got to look at the total there, but that screams under to me.
That would be my early lean, because I think that's going to get a lot of attention coming off a loss to Birmingham. San Antonio just hasn't looked great at all, so I can see that number definitely closing at maybe 7, maybe 8.
Yeah. At this point, just fade San Antonio. You're making money doing it. I certainly won't back them again. I gave him a second chance after week 1, and nope, not again. And then your Battlehawks. I keep calling them overrated, and two pieces of evidence here in the last 2 weeks that I was wrong. 5.5-point favorite against DC at home. And your instant reaction to that when we talked about it was, it's pretty high.
No, I think so. I mean, we'll see how it goes throughout the week. I mean, I could see, a lot of people hopping on DC, but as we saw tonight, that dome field advantage, I mean, it's huge. It's huge. No other team has it, so we'll see.
I would say Hakeem Butler is worth at least a touchdown in this spread. I think if Hakeem Butler plays, you can take your 5.5, fine. I mean, what did Hakeem Butler do against DC last year? I think it was like...
He had like the 80-yard touchdown, yeah.
Like 20... I mean, yeah, it was ugly to watch.
Hey, but Manny's beat this team before, so, I mean, he's already 1-0 against the Defenders, so, hey, let's make it 2-0.
So, yeah, DC, underdogs again, right where we want you. We got you right where we want you. Getting counted out again, just like we were against Birmingham. Great 2-0 start for the Defenders at home. But yeah, some interesting lines. Early leans. You have any to give out? I mean, I'm kind of leaning Memphis.
Yeah, I mean,
not gonna lie, I don't know if that'll be a best bet, but I'm kind of leaning Memphis, and I'm kind of leaning that under in Michigan, San Antonio.
I mean, I agree with you, Memphis. Obviously, I'm biased against the Boats, and I think you finally saw this week what I was talking about last week. And then, yeah, like I said, Michigan, I think that number's only going to keep climbing. So I haven't had a chance to look at the totals yet, but yeah, those are probably my two favorite early plays.
And DC as a dog is nice because I can sit and wait and watch that thing climb because it's gonna throughout the week. I mean, St. Louis, 2 emphatic covers, right? You come in as I think close at a 5 or 5.5 point favorite week 1. Win by 24, close at 8, I think, this week, and then win by 17. Like, yeah, they're going to take some money in week 3 back at home as well. So I'll wait. I'm not in a rush to get DC. I think it could close as high as it could probably close as high as 7.5 or 8, which is crazy.
I don't think it will. I don't think it will.
Louis,
I don't think it will get that high.
You realize what they would be saying at that point, though. Like, what would a St. Louis-Birmingham spread be? Probably around the same, if not higher. So, right now, the start you're off to, the odds makers are saying you're a full touchdown better than the second best team in this league. Like, think about it, a St. Louis-Houston spread right now. We're talking 16.5.
Possibly, yeah.
So, they might be even more confident in your team than they were last year, which is crazy to say. But, yeah, they've looked the part. They've certainly looked the part. Phil McGagan, early coordinator of the year, by the way.
Done.
I counted that man out. And he's doing a hell of a job.
Yeah, we didn't know.
The Knights of Colombo, right?
There you go. But yeah, McGagan, we didn't know what we were going to get with him. But yeah, his use of the pre-snap motion, getting his playmakers the ball in space, really catering to what Manny does well too, has been great for this offense early on. But Matt, I did want to touch on, you kind of heard my reaction. We talk about it for the show about this Birmingham-Arlington line, but I was thinking, looking at the schedule earlier, watching the games, I was kind of thinking what would this spread be, and I was kind of thinking maybe Birmingham -1.5, but I was surprised to see -3. What are your thoughts on that? Because I do think these teams are more similar than you think.
That's kind of right where I'd put it. I got to see with Corral. I really got to know what's going on with the quarterback situation, because I would consider betting the Stallions knowing that Corral was the quarterback. If it's Magoo and they're gonna try this again, it would almost flip me enough to take Arlington as an underdog. Like, that's how different I am in these two situations, because I know you're gonna get a good defensive effort out of Birmingham, and if Houston can hold Arlington to 11, but weather has factored in a lot in these games. Like, when you're playing inside and you have that controlled environment, but even inside, the under with St. Louis comes through, and at points in that game you're thinking this is definitely going over, but these unders are they're cash right now. So yeah, I think it depends. I got to see who's starting at quarterback, and then I'll make a decision. We'll probably know by Wednesday, so we'll probably know before the show on Thursday. But we don't want to ramble anymore. That's the power pool. We'll go through it again. St. Louis at 1, DC at 2, Birmingham at 3, Arlington at 4, Michigan at 5, Memphis 6, San Antonio 7, and the next at 8. TPG, before we get out of here, go ahead and quick plug the socials that you've been doing such a hell of a job
Thanks,
running.
Matt. So two new social media pages, Instagram, TikTok at Springball BLVD. You know, follow, like, comment, share. Let's run this shit up. Let's do it.
All right, for the People's Gambler, I'm Matty Fresh. You always remember, there is no such thing as football season. We'll see you Thursday night and leave you with the sights and sounds of UFL Week 2.
He had my arm and he just ripped it legit out of the socket.
The short horn, UCA is the short horn.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought he said the short horn.
I literally just split my pants, y'all.
No, Blandino, you're killing us up there. You know that.
I need him to have a sense of urgency of spotting the ball. He need to have a sense of urgency of spotting the ball. Like you know what I'm saying?
Does CJ take a hit? Yeah, he didn't play the cut block well. Challenge! Challenge! Challenge!
And I'm sure at the halftime, I'll update you to see if it drops even lower.
Yeah, just like my 401k right now. Out in here, sometimes you use your friend as a thunder stick. Whoa!
Matt McCrane, who is 7 for 7. McCrane from 40 yards out. And that is no good.